Well, saggy boobs matter.
They do.
That they do. So, I mean, it almost sounds so simple. It's a natural thing. It's what we all sort of walk about at home like. But to take this photograph of you just being you, and suddenly everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, crazy.
What did you make of all of that?
Surprising, but at the same time, it's a statement in itself. It goes to show that being yourself is seen as something that's shocking and almost heroic. And it shouldn't be that way, because being yourself should be the easiest thing to be, because all you have to do is just show up and exist.
But you say that, and actually a lot of this came about because you wanted to change who you were, because you weren't happy with how you looked, and you did potentially think about going the surgical route.
I did.
So what made you sort of take that step back and think, no, do you know what? I am happy the way that I am.
Well, I was 18 when I thought, oh, I really want a boob job because I can't be saggy like this. But then I realised at 18, how am I going to afford a job that will allow me to get a really expensive procedure? That's when I realised, OK, maybe it's a little cheaper for me to just love myself.
But isn't it strange that that was the first thought?
It was.
It was, I'll just go and fix it. And that is the issue nowadays, really.
Yeah, we're taught that, you know, from the moment that you're born, especially as a woman, you're taught that you've got to fix yourself and that everything about you is wrong and you've got to seek the approval of every single person around you and meet everyone else's standards but yours. And so the first thing that comes to your mind is change it, fix it so that I'll be desirable, because being desirable means that there's a higher chance of you being loved. And it's a shame that 18-year-old me thought that the way out was to just, you know, quickly do a procedure rather than to investigate my thought process and ask myself, who has taught me that I'm not good enough and why do I believe them?
Of course. And your mum was a big part of that as well, wasn't she?
She definitely
really
encouraged me to love myself and not think in that way. But then when my mum says it, I'm like, well, you're just my mum. Of course you're going to tell me you love me.
But she was right. She's right. And that's why the book is dedicated to your mum.
Yes, it is. And there's so many quotes from her in the book as well.
So What a Time to Be Alone, the book is called. And it's so beautiful because it's actually a series of little essays, beautiful sort of proverbs, things that mean things to you. The artwork in it's beautiful.
All done by me.
All done by you. It's something you feel really, really proud of, isn't it, this? And you've worked on it for a couple of years. Yes. And tell us exactly what's within the book and the sort of movement that you want to try and get going off the back of it.
So essentially, this book is for all the recovering overthinkers around the world, including myself. For each person who constantly reviews situations and thinks, oh, I wish I behaved differently. For each person who feels like they're too sensitive for the world. But in general, just for each person who knows that they want to try and do better, but they don't know where to start. This book is aimed to encourage you to find value in your own solitude, because we are taught and we're conditioned to believe that we must seek companionship and that the answers lie everywhere else but within us. But in reality, if you learn to develop a healthy relationship with yourself, it means that when you do invest in other relationships, they will be more safe and secure because you know yourself better. So it's all about encouraging you to take control of your own life through you understanding that there is so much about you worth exploring if you take the time out to do that with yourself and actually hold yourself accountable and ask yourself the honest questions that you don't want the answers to.
And what other people say and think sometimes just doesn't matter. You can't alter how they are, which is what you feel so passionately about. But to be fair, you have put yourself out there, because anyone that does, you open up the door for people to write back to you, and it hasn't always been plain sailing. How do you deal with people that react badly?
I'm learning to understand that nothing anybody ever ultimately does is because of you. You're not the biggest problem in someone's life. They have bigger issues, and how someone chooses to respond to you is a choice that they've made that's been influenced by how they have dealt with their own past. And so it's really easy to see that in the way if someone is kind to you, it's not directly because of you, it's because they have, you know, a lot of joy in them and they're able to share that. But if someone is, you know, horrible to you, then that's coming from a place of darkness within themselves. And so it's important for you to, of course, hold yourself accountable in the situation, but also remember that you ultimately can't decide how people view you. All you can control is how you respond to other people. Yeah,
of course. And you're wanting this, to use the word movement is not an understatement. You want this to be something that everyone's talking about.
Absolutely.
You want to get on the telly. You want to put the message out there as much as possible. So what do you do off the back of this book then? How are you going to achieve that?
Well, it's vital that we make this conversation as accessible as possible. And so, you know, through even engaging in this conversation through television, people can understand that, oh, wow, there's someone out there who's just as misunderstood as me, someone who gets it, someone who's just as vulnerable and fragile as me. And just seeing someone live their truth is more than enough to give you the confidence to do so as well. So through this book, I aim to encourage people and just empower them and equip them with the tools required to just take control of their own lives in their own time, baby steps.
No matter what you look like. I seem to refer everything in life at the minute back to Love Island. But it's one of those things, isn't it? A lot of young people are watching that and, you know, they're all so beautiful and perfect looking. And you sort of think, it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to.
You can be brilliant in whatever...
And you can still be loved.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, look, best of luck with it.
Thank
so
you
great
so
to see
much.
you in the flesh. What a time to be alone is out now. Onwards and upwards. And saggy boobs absolutely do matter, don't they?